Ashley Vivo here with eXp Realty. I'm a realtor here in Oregon, and I was here today to give you guys a little bit more information about what it takes to have a short-term vacation Airbnb rental in Bend, Oregon. The city does have its own specific regulations, so that's really important to look into wherever you are, if you're in Oregon or anywhere else, that the state, the city, everywhere is different. Some have no regulations, some have a lot. Bend does make it a little bit trickier. So here is a couple of the things that you need to know before you decide to purchase or start renting out maybe an ADU or a room at your house. So for one, there is a short-term rental eligibility map that you can go online and check at their website. I believe you can get to it at bendoregon.gov and just follow the links there to see it. So the map will cover, because you have to be, so there can't be another Airbnb, or they call it STR, short-term rental, within 250 foot of where your place is going to be. So that is one of the requirements they require. And then, so once you realize that's okay, we're all good there, then there's a couple other extra steps that you need to take. So the first thing is going to be obtaining an operating license, which the fee for that is going to be $280 initially, and then $205 annually. You do need to renew it annually. Once you have that, within 60 days, you do need to get the land use permit, which is the bigger deal. That's when you do your full application, all your documentation, everything, to make sure that you can be approved to do it. So that's going to be a little bit more expensive. It depends on what kind of short-term rental you're doing. There is type 1 and type 2, which I would highly recommend going to the website and reading through the specifics of those to see which category you fall into. So that will range between $735 for the year and $2,045 for the year. The next thing would be, you do need to have a minimum of 1 night a year rented out to renew it the following year. So if you decide to stop doing it, or, last year of COVID, a lot of people probably weren't renting out their Airbnbs. So if you did do it for a full year, then you might not be able to renew again the following year. So that's something to pay attention to. So let me see. Yeah, and then the process to apply. So you have to have those requirements, and then you have to do a few other things. Designating an authorized agent, which means like a property manager or somebody that's going to be in charge, take the emergency calls and handle everything. Then you have to do the fire safety self-inspection and checklist to make sure everything is in proper order and it's going to be safe, and there's evacuation routes and fire extinguishers, all of that. Parking diagram, you will be required to do a parking diagram with your application. That is because you have to have a minimum of 1 bedroom for your short-term rental. So that's very important. It can be in a garage, a driveway, any of those places are fine, but you do have to make sure there's parking. You also need to make sure you post the good neighbor guidelines in your ADU or short-term rental. This is going to be all the guidelines for your renters to follow to make sure they're being good neighbors and not upsetting any of your other neighbors. So that's very important. You do need to do that. You also need to give notice to your neighbors and give them a 24/7 emergency contact number in case there is any big issue that needs to be addressed. Let me see, short-term rental acknowledgement, room tax registration. So you are going to have to pay a room tax for each room that you do. It's kind of like how the hotels do with, a room tax. So you're going to have to do that, and that's actually going to be your proof for how many nights and how often you rented out your room or your whole house or however you're doing to keep track of. So you do have to register for that and meet all the requirements and be approved and then pay the proper taxes. A sale of a property, very important also. So if you are selling a property that has a short-term rental permit or you're buying one, you do need to make sure the new owners, you will need to make sure that the new owners do apply for their own permit. So they will need their own operating license. Those are non-transferable. They do need to do their own on that. And then they do need to apply to transfer the land use short-term rental permit. So make sure that they do that within 60 days of the sale. So that's very important. Yeah. And so since short-term rentals are a little bit harder to obtain in Bend, they are a great investment and they make people a lot of money. We have a lot of tourism here. So they are in really high demand. And since you can only have it every, with the 250 foot radius of any other one, that really limits how many we can have. So you want to make sure that if you're intending to buy a property for this or going to use your property for it, you really want to make sure you go to the website and you check out all the requirements and look at the eligibility map and make sure it's really going to be feasible for you. If you want more information just about maybe some of the things you need to keep in mind, not just for Bend, but for anywhere, for a short-term rental, I will have another video that's more just general and things to know for Airbnb and short-term rentals. Again, this is Ashley Biba with eXp Realty. I hope this information was helpful for you guys. My website is bendproperties.exprealty.com. So you can send me a message there, send me an email, or however you'd like to do it, and I will talk to you soon.